Most migrants that move to the UK, they would one day like to buy their own house, get mortgage, enjoy living in their own homes in the UK. But honestly, these days, the news has been very discouraging for people that want to own houses in the UK. You hear high interest rates with mortgages, you see websites with very huge cost for houses, and you wonder if it's actually possible. And then these days, people have even given up. They're saying that with most migrants coming as nurses, care assistants, etc., and it looks like our salary can never enable us to buy a house in the UK because of the current cost of living, the current mortgage crisis. So today we're going to do the maths. Okay, I'm going to make the maths very, very easy to understand. You know that I have a PhD in breaking things, like some of the subscribers say in the comments. So I'll be letting you know how much you should be earning to be able to afford a house at this moment, at this present times, in these crazy times. And then I'll also let you know the kind of house that you can afford, and I'll let you know interest or the monthly payments that you're likely to be paying as mortgage every month when you buy that house. We'll also calculate how much of your income will be left, and then we'll see if it's actually possible to buy a house in this era. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Stop that. So hi guys, my name is Nanelle. So just about a year ago, my husband and I bought our first home. Yes. So I'm going to speak based on our experience and based on research that I have done on the internet. I am not a mortgage advisor. I am not a real estate developer. So this is purely based on my experience and with my husband buying our first home in the UK as migrant, even without having our permanent residency, and then also based on research that I have done. Okay. So according to the Office of National Statistics of the UK, that's the popularly known as the ONS, at the moment, as at March of 2023, the average cost of a house in the UK is about 285,000. This is as of March of this year. Okay, and I'm going to use that. I know that now they have things in place where you can give 0% deposit and still be eligible for a mortgage, but for most migrants, especially those who do not have their indefinite leave to remain or passport, you're not likely to qualify for this. For most migrants, you qualify for the 10% deposit. Okay, and then some people might qualify for the 5%, but I think for most people you qualify for the 10% deposit type of mortgage. Okay, so for those who are confused, let me quickly explain how mortgage works. Okay, so mortgage, let's say you see a house, in this case £285,000 that you want to buy. However, you cannot afford the whole 285,000, but the lender, or there's a lender that's going to help you buy it. Okay, but they need you to make a commitment. Okay, and they also need to see that you can actually pay the rest of the loan, because they're going to help you pay for the house. Okay, so they'll take a couple of documents to show that you're earning enough money to be able to pay for it, and then check your credit history, blah blah blah, and then you make a commitment of a deposit. Okay, in this case 10% of the £285,000, which is around 28,500. So you make this deposit, and then the bank will give you the remaining 90% of the money, and then you will buy the house, and then you pay the bank over a period of time, 25 years, 35 years, with interest. Okay, so for us, we were very lucky. Our interest rate was way before this whole high crisis and whatever went on. So we had a mortgage interest rate of about 3.2%. Okay, but these days the average is about 6.2, and you're going to pay this interest per year. For us, we got what we call 5-year fixed. Okay, so that means for the next 5 years, that's the interest rate. Whether the interest rate shoots to 100% or 20%, for us, we got a contract of 5-year fixed. That's another reason why getting a 5-year fixed is very, very good, because when the market increases and people are now paying 7 and 9% and whatever, for you it does not affect you. You'll still be rolling with the 30% or the 1% that you signed initially. Okay, and we'll talk about that as well, but let's use the figures here. Okay, so using the average cost of a house based on the ONS research, it's £285,000 for the average cost of a house in the UK. So one of the popular places to find houses is Rightmove. So let me go and look at Rightmove, okay, and see what kind of house we are getting with that amount. Okay, so let's look at Rightmove. Okay, so let's type, let's say Manchester, okay, near the city center, and let's check for sale. So let's look at averagely maybe the search radius. Let's check maybe a 30-mile radius, and then let's check number of bedrooms, around 3 bedrooms, and then with the price range, let's check maximum of 285,000. Okay, or let's search 290,000 maximum, and then property type, we're looking at any. Okay, so let's find the properties in this area. So let's say if you're in Manchester, this is roughly this amount of money will get you. Okay, so this is in road or Wigan, and that's the postcode. Okay, this is just an example, and let's look at inside the building. So it can get you a fairly beautiful house. Okay, look at this living room. Usually all the furniture does not come with a house. Usually this is just a show home. Okay, so this can get you a pretty decent home, okay, for a family. And look, they still have 6 homes remaining, and this is about it's quite beautiful. And so okay, now let's go back and look at another one around Manchester as well. And this is let's look at the pictures. Okay, so as you can see, it's decent, it's pretty beautiful as well. So this is Manchester. Okay, now let's look at somewhere in London as well and see how much that would get us. So obviously now for London it'll be difficult to get a place, so let's just look for places around London like Kent. Okay, so let me just type Kent. Okay, so with Kent as well, with that kind of money, you're looking at this place, it's not so bad, but obviously the Manchester one was much nicer. This clearly looks like a very old building, and you know, it's not so bad. Obviously if you want to live close to London, you have to pay the price for it. So yeah, obviously, and I'm sure that can get you a mansion in Northern Ireland, because obviously Northern Ireland is much cheaper than all these 2 places I have mentioned so far. So this is an example of what you're likely to get around for places close to London. Let's look at another one. This is also a semi-detached, 290,000. Okay, okay, clearly these are old houses, but that amount can get you a very new house in Northern Ireland or in Belfast. Let me just type Belfast and let's see. But in Belfast, the popular one that we use is Property Pal. Okay, that's where we got our house. Okay, so for Belfast, if you're looking for, so you see, immediately you come to Belfast, the prices like drop really much. Okay, this is about half of the price, and this is not bad in Belfast. So that means if you have 285,000, you're gonna get a much nicer building. Okay, so guys, you have a fair idea of different areas in the UK and the kind of house that you're looking at if you have this amount of money, or if this is your budget. Okay, so now using this figure, right, obviously we know that based on our situation as migrants, we're likely to pay a 10% deposit. So 10% of £285,000 is 28,500. Okay, so now you'll be borrowing from the bank or from the lender the remaining 90%, which is 256,500. Okay, so remember, the average cost of a house according to the ONS is £285,000 as at March of 2023, and for our situation, you're likely to be asked to pay 10% deposit. So in this case, we'll be paying 28,500. Okay, so once you put the deposit down, you need to borrow about 256,500 from the bank to make up the 285,000 to be able to buy the house. So the bank will be giving you this amount of money. Guys, I need you to really understand. This is so easy and it's so simple to understand, but we need to understand this. And as part of the reasons why I'm doing this because recently a couple reached out to me. They wanted my mortgage advisor's details. I gave it to them, but they were still really confused. I said, just go ahead and call this mortgage advisor, book an appointment and discuss. They were just, you know, stressing themselves because they were just confused with the figures. Okay, as well, I'm going to leave my mortgage advisor's details in the description. Okay, and if you want us to have an interview with him, please comment below so that I will ask him and then, you know, request an interview with him so he would also explain further. But this is it. Okay, so now you're going to get 256,500 loan from the bank, and usually what the bank does is the maximum amount of money they can give you to buy a house is usually 4 times or 4.5 times your annual salary or your annual income. Listen carefully, okay? So some of the banks, they can stretch to give you about 5 times your annual income, but usually they will give you either 4 times your annual income as a loan or 4.5 times your annual income. Okay, so for the purpose of this, let's use what's in the middle. So let's use 4.5 times your annual salary. Okay, so to be able to buy this house, which is 285,500, after saving your deposit of 28,500, you should be earning about 57,000 pounds a year to be able to afford this house. Why? Because 57,000 times 4.5 is 256,500. Okay, so if you are not earning this per year, the bank is not going to loan you 256,500 to add up to your deposit to buy the house. Okay, do not get disappointed. Okay, listen, how many people watching me earn 57,000 a year? Not loads of people. For me, even though I work for a private company, blah blah blah, I make a little over 30,000 a year. So that means I may not be able to buy this house on my own, but there's something called a joint mortgage. Okay, so when you're doing a joint mortgage, that means not only your income will be considered, okay? And this annual income that I'm talking about your income without tax deductions and all the deductions. I'm talking about your annual income without any deductions, okay? So like when you look at the NHS pay scale, you know that, let's look at the NHS pay scale right now, 2023, 2024, you see that, let's say band 5, you're getting, as a startup entry point, you're getting around 28,407, okay? And clearly, you cannot afford to buy such a house if this is your annual salary, okay? But then let's say you are 2 band 5s at entry level and you are both bringing home an annual income of 28,407 pounds in a year, okay? So 28,407 times 2 will give you 56,814. So now it is this amount multiplied by 4.5 is what the bank is likely to give you as a loan to buy your house. You understand? They are going to consider your household income. And this does not necessarily have to be your husband. This does not necessarily have to be your partner. This can even be a relative. You can actually do a joint mortgage with a family member or a friend. Okay, you can actually do this together. And both of your annual incomes will be considered. And that income totaled multiplied by approximately 4.5 is the amount of money you are likely to get from the bank as a loan to add to your deposits to buy your house. Okay, so for somebody who's not doing a joint mortgage, and let's say you are at band 5 entry level and you're only making 28,407 in a year, that times 4.5 will give you 127,831 pounds and 5 pence. So that is the amount of money that the bank is likely to loan you if you're doing just only you without adding a partner to buy a house. So you have to now go to these apps or these websites like Property Pal for those in Northern Ireland and Rightmove for those in England, and then the maximum amount of house you're looking for, put this price there and then search within that range. That's how you know how much you can afford. Okay, now there's more to this whole thing. When you're saving your deposits, don't forget that it's not just a deposit you'll be paying for. You'll be paying for your solicitor, you'll be paying for quite a lot of other things, and have done a video about hidden costs when buying a house. I'll link it here so you can watch. Okay, so when you're saving the deposits, always, although the main aim is your deposit, always budget a bit more than that. You're likely to pay a little over 1,000 up to 2,500 for your solicitor, and then other things as well. So even finishing a house and decorating a house, it's also work on its own. Okay, somebody will say that, oh no, in this case I don't think I'll ever buy a house because these figures this girl is mentioning is ridiculous. Listen to me, if you aim to live in this country for a long time, honestly, it's unwise to keep renting a place, because as you are still living here, you definitely need a place to put your head. I mean, when you check Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, shelter is one of the basic things and the first things that everybody needs. Everybody. So if you are going to need shelter, because definitely you're going to live here, you definitely will be paying rent. Rent keeps going up. You started, let's say, paying 500. Now you're paying 700. Very soon you're paying 900. And you're comfortably taking that from your monthly salary every single month to pay this. However, after the 20 years, you still do not own the place. And what you forget is that £900 a month, £700 a month that you were paying for, you're actually paying the landlord's mortgage for him or her. Okay, so it's unwise to keep staying in somebody's house for that long of a time when you know you're going to live here for long and you're only just paying rent. Get a place, even if it's not a posh place. It's good that you get your own place, okay? Because remember that the value of properties increase with time. Even if you're leaving the country and you resell it, you're going to get some profit. We'll go to how much you're likely to pay very, very soon per month, but let me quickly chip this in. So there are two types of mortgages. We have the repayment mortgage and we have the interest only mortgage. So the repayment mortgage, that's what my husband and I were doing. We're actually paying down the house. Okay, so every month what we are paying is towards repaying the amount the bank gave us plus the interest. So we are paying all that down. So at the end of our contract time, let's say 25 years, we hope to have finished paying the amounts that the bank gave us, plus finished paying the interest on it, and then we'll be owning the house at the end of the contract term. However, with interest only, that's what most landlords do. They want to be able to get money from the from the business, so they only do interest only. So if the contract term is 25 years, okay, for the 25 years, they will not be paying down the amounts that the bank lends them to buy the house. They'll only be paying the interest. Okay, so let's say the interest is £100 a month. So every month they are only paying the £100 a month. They're not paying the exact amounts that the bank gave them to buy the house. They're only paying the interest that was on top of it. So at the end of the term, they would have paid lots of money, right? However, they still owe the cost of the house, okay? Because the whole time they were only paying the interest. I'm sure you're confused. Why would somebody do that? Because at the end of the day, you're still owing. It's because of this. Listen to this, okay? So let's say in 1990, you bought a house. At that time, the house was £10,000. Right, and you did interest only, okay? Maybe at that time, £10,000 was huge, and let's say you got interest for like say 2%. So let's say you're paying maybe £50 interest only every month, okay? And obviously along the line, the interest rates will change, and you have to remortgage and blah blah blah. But the thing is, you're only paying the interest, which is very little. Fast forward 2023, you can get £10,000 easily. Okay, so that is the idea behind what people are doing, but it is not always the smartest thing to do. Look at this thing that I read, okay? A repayment mortgage, okay, costs more each month than interest-only mortgage, because obviously you're paying down the interest and you're paying down the house, right? However, you will repay more interest overall with an interest-only mortgage, as you are paying interest on the full capital amount for the entire mortgage term. So for instance, if you had a mortgage of £200,000 at 5% interest rate over 20 years, the total interest would be around £116,876. If you took out the mortgage on a repayment basis, that's the interest, okay? If you took it out on an interest only basis, you would end up paying £200,146 in interest, and you will still be owing £200,000 capital at the end. Okay, so sometimes interest only might not be worth it, but it depends. Most people do that for buy-to-let, okay? All right. So now, based on your situation, whether you're a single person or you have a partner, and whether you like to buy with your single income or whether you like to do a joint mortgage, now you have a fair idea of how much loan or the kind of house that you can afford, right? Because all you have to do is multiply the annual salary by 4.5, and that's roughly the amount of money that the bank is likely to loan you to buy your house. That is after you have saved your deposits, approximately 10%, and that's after they've checked you to see that you have good credit history, okay? But then now, after you bought the house, what happens next? You have to remember that you still have monthly payments to do, and these monthly payments can be extremely overwhelming. Sometimes when you check the monthly payments, it's actually not worth it even buying the house, especially with the high interest rates these days. The bank is just repossessing people's homes. It's so bad. Before you go into this, you have to know how much exactly you're likely to be paying every month, okay? And there's a way to calculate it, but the easiest way to calculate this is to use the DANSKE Bank website, okay? The current interest rate is around 6.2, but it depends on how much deposit you are bringing. So the more deposit you have, the better the interest rate you're going to get. Because imagine the house is, let's say, £100,000 and you have £50,000 cash deposit. That means you're only borrowing 50,000. So the bank is going to give you a very good interest rate compared to somebody who's bringing only £10,000 as deposit, okay? And then the current, Bank of England rates also affect it. And then that's why I also advise an independent mortgage advisor, because this person would compare all the banks and all the lenders and give you the one that has the best rates at the moment, okay? So all these things affect the interest rate you're going to get. And then we all cannot predict the future. So although we are going to give an estimate of how much you're going to be paying monthly as, mortgage payment monthly, it's difficult to predict how much you'll be paying for the rest of the term, let's say 25 years, because we truly, we all don't know what the interest rate is going to be in 10 years time or in 5 years time, okay? So all this I'm going to show you is just an estimate done by DANSKE Bank, okay? So I'm going to leave the link here so that you can use it to calculate it yourself. So we're going to check mortgage calculator monthly repayment, okay? So what do you want to do? We're going to choose, I want to buy my first home. And then, are you participating in a shared ownership scheme? I'm going to write no. So shared ownership is totally different from the joint mortgage that I'm talking about. With shared ownership, let's say you have, 50% ownership of the house. So you're only paying mortgage on the 50% that you own, and then the rest you're paying rent on the other 50%. It's totally different. That's not what this video is about. So that is not what we're doing. Okay, joint mortgage is totally different from shared ownership. Okay, so what's the value of the property? So let's use the ONS figure that they gave us. They said the price is 285,000. How much would you like to borrow from DANSKE Bank? So remember that we would have saved our 28,500. That's the 10%. So we only need to borrow 256,500. Okay, so that's the amount that we are borrowing from the bank. Okay, how long would you like your mortgage to last for? So let's just choose 30 years. Okay, I know it's a long time, but let's just use 30 years and then 0 months. Okay, so now let's calculate. Okay, so now based on your answers, there are 10 mortgage options. Okay, so this is the first one. So the first one, you are going to be paying £2,126 every single month as your mortgage. Is that realistic? To me, it's very unrealistic, and this is based on a variable interest rate of 9.3%. Honestly, this is not good at all. And then for those who are lucky and you're able to get a 2-year fixed mortgage, you're likely to be paying 1,534.55 for the first 2 years. Okay, and then for the remaining term, you're going to be paying 1,791.62. Like I said, this is just an estimate because we all don't know what the interest rate is going to be after 2 years when the fixed year term is up. So this one, they gave the initial interest of 5.98, which is even good, okay, because the current interest is around 6.2%. And then the variable one, the follow-on rate, they used 7.6, predicting what's going to be in the future, 7.65%. If you're lucky and you get a 5-year fixed, okay, with the initial fixed rate interest rate of, let's say, 5.39%, you're going to be paying about £1,438.73 for every month for the next 5 years. Okay, and that's what most people go for. My mortgage advisor would have advised you to go for this because he advised us to choose the 5-year fixed mortgage, and that was very good because we got it at 3-point-something%, and then now the interest rate is times 2, 6.9. Okay, so imagine if we had chosen, let's say, only 2 years. That means in the next year we'll be using the current interest rate. So for the 5-year fix with this one, you'll be paying £1,438.73 a month for the 5-year period. Okay, and then for the follow-on rate, they are predicting that's going to be around 7.6%. That's the prediction. So for that one, you'll be paying around £1,758. Okay, so if you're like me at the moment, and then all you are bringing in is, let's say, £1,800 to £2,000, that means you cannot afford it, because if you take this out of your money, how much is left? Okay, and if you have your partner, you're doing a joint mortgage, obviously you can split it and then each person will pay a bit of it and that'll be okay. So that's all we looked at. Okay, the 2-year fixed and the 5-year fixed. Okay, so guys, and this is roughly how this thing works. Okay, so if you are, let's say, a band 5 and you're bringing home, let's say, £2,000, let's say your partner is earning around £2,000, 4,000 household income. If you deduct this approximate 1,500, you guys are left with about £2,500 a month. Okay, don't forget that you'd have to have home insurance in place, you'd have to get life insurance in place, and then your transportation, so many other things. This seems like a lot of things, and then it's very discouraging because the figures are huge, and then you wonder if with your current salary you can even ever be able to afford these things. And that is where I come in with this advice. Honestly, there's no multimillionaire in this world that has only one source of income. No, the average millionaire has about 7 sources of income. So if all you have is your nursing salary, all you have is your healthcare assistant salary, all you have is your teacher job salary, all you have is your doctor profession salary, honestly, you're a joke. You are a joke. Okay, because the way the world is going, they're not waiting for us. That's why we are always demonstrating we want more money, blah blah blah. Honestly, the way to go is to get a side hustle, and that is why I'm here to recommend Skillshare for you. So what is Skillshare? Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes. On Skillshare, there's a class for you on whatever that you want to do. Okay, Skillshare is the only platform where they'll give you the value, whether you are a beginner on an intermediate level or you're a pro and you just want to top up. Okay, so based on your level of strength, there's a class on it for you, and then There is no advert, so you get the value just like that. So yeah, as I approach permanent residency, I want to start my own business. I want to start selling things online. Okay, so for me, the class I'm currently taking is e-commerce essentials, how to start a successful online business. And I'm taking this class from Tracy Wallace. This class already has over 61,000 students, and I'm taking it at the beginner level, and it's been really helpful, honestly. And it has several projects and resources that would help me in it. Okay, and then at the end of the course, I get to get a certificate. Can you imagine? So this class is really helpful. I'm learning how to choose the right product, and then how to check the market viability of the product, determine the right platform to sell the product, and so many other things, so that when I'm doing it, I know I'm doing it well. So I'm really learning a lot from this class, guys. There's several other classes on Skillshare, whether it's photography, cooking, YouTube, makeup, whatever it is. There's a class on Skillshare for you. Okay, they'll show you step-by-step guide from beginning to end to make you a pro, so you can start making some cash. Okay, you don't have to work 7 days a week and break your back and not spend time with your family. Most of these things, they are flexible, but they can give you even more money than your nursing job can. Okay, so I recommend Skillshare for you. The good thing is Skillshare is sponsoring today's video, and the amazing thing is the first 500 people to use my link will get access to one of Skillshare's best offers: 30 days free and 40% of your first year of Skillshare membership. So thank you so much, Skillshare, for sponsoring today's video. Honestly, for some people, their side hustle alone can cater for their mortgage expenses, and everything else that they earn from their main job is what they are saving for the future or whatever. These figures look very scary for people that want to buy, okay, but that should not scare you. And you should not wait to think that the interest rate is going to get better. Just the year before we bought our house, friends that bought their house around that time, they were paying less than 2% interest rate. Then we went to 3 point something. Now it's 6 point something. And from the DANSKE bank prediction, it's going to get to 7 point something. Time in the market is better than time in the market. With time in the market, it means regardless of the current interest rate, you get a good deal, you save money, you buy the house, you are in it, the property value will go up. By the time that you are halfway through your contract, sometimes the property would have shot up so much that even if you decide to sell, you get so much profit. Okay, so time in the market is better rather than sitting there timing the market. Nah, that's not wise. Okay, I hope this also benefit to you. All links mentioned will be in the description below. I hope that you comment below all your experience, any tip that you have as well. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Bye.